Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today we're actually in the house, which is really weird because I'm normally out in the garden. But I want to show you how we keep our compost. This is our little compost bin here. I forget where we got this. Where did we get this, Mama? Was it from Aldi? I think it was Aldi we got this. But at any rate, that's where we keep our compost. And then down in here, just show you what we have is a little screen so that basically even the small bits going into the compost and not down the garbage disposal. All right. I have a septic tank here, so I'm really surprised we even have a garbage disposal. But either way, nice little bag full. And then over here, let me show you this. So this is my little coffee station, and this is what I do with my coffee grounds. I put them all in an old, coffee tub because it's plastic and holds it really well, which also will do really well for a compost bin. Now, you don't have to have it in a compost bin by itself. You can do just a regular old coffee tub, just like so. Lid back on, and we're off to the races. So come with me, and we're going to go put it in the compost.
Yay, compost.
Yay, compost. Alright, so then once we get out here, what I do is just dig me a hole down into the compost ways. And you can see it steaming, nice and hot down in there. So I'll open up a hole, and then I'll take this, dump that down in the hole, just mix it all in. And like this bag that we line it with, that's a tortilla bag. So we have lots and lots of tortilla bags floating around. So these can be disposed of or washed and reused. And then I just cover it back up. Now the secret to this, I know a lot of people worry about rats and various other scavengers getting into your compost bin. Well, compost tends to seal itself up pretty well. And then you'll see I cover it back up with more compost or more, leaves or grass clippings, whatever I have in the compost bin. All right, and then I've never had an issue with animals really digging into my compost much. All right, once in a great while, I'll see a little hole that's been dug, but very seldom. All right, and then the other question I got from one of my viewers is, what do you do with your compost? Well, let me show you. All right, so you like my little fairy circles that I've got of different plants? Pretty cool, huh? But what I do is, not only do I incorporate it into the soil, which you can see I need a lot of weeding, but I also use it as a side dressing. So I just put this down yesterday, and I noticed that some of my plants are starting to look a little peaked. Some of the leaves are a little rough looking. So when that happens, I use the compost as my fertilizer. So you can see I've got it here, I've got it there, I've got it around my cucumbers over there, got it around the cucumbers over here. Now with smaller plants, I try and leave a little space between the compost and the plant so that they can continue to grow up. I don't want to make it difficult for them to grow, but I'll put it in a circle here. I've got it all over there. So if you look, I've got there, here, all throughout this garden. I put it around my cucumbers here, my tomatoes there. All right, and then let me show you one other spot, and then we're going to go over to my grapes. And then I put it here. Now you can see it's about 2 to 3 inches deep. That will sit there and rot down. And that's not completely finished compost. It's got a little bit of particulate matter still, but that's okay because once it washes most of the nutrients out, it'll act as a mulch. All right, now let me show you my last spot over here. Well, I'm going to show you this first. Come over here. So this is my grapevine, and you can see it goes all the way up and across. And last year this grapevine was huge. Oh, check it out, ladybug. I have seen more and more ladybugs this year, more than I've seen in forever, which is really neat. Fantastic predator bugs. All right, but at any rate, so you can tell this one is all growing out, and if you look very carefully, like right here, you can see I've got blooms coming out that will turn into small flowers, which will in turn turn into grapes. So this grapevine is doing very well, but let me show you these others. So if you look at these grapes here, I've got 3 different vines that have been here for several years, and they're growing better this year, but for some reason I've had a real hard time getting them to grow. Now down here I have a brand new one that I propagated from the grapevine I just showed you over there. But if you look up underneath here, what I did, I had these wood chips, but underneath the wood chips is a huge amount of compost. A lot of compost down in there. Alright, so I basically have piled this on between wood chips and compost about 4 inches deep or better. Alright, with the idea that the compost will rot down underneath the wood chips, and then the wood chips will continue to be a mulch layer, and I'm going to stack more wood chips on it. But the soil here is so sandy. I mean, it's just, if you look at it, there's just sand. There's really not a lot to it, and that's part of the problem, is that, you know, it doesn't want to grow. So that's why I use compost. All of my gardens have used, I don't know, I hate to even try and guess how many loads of compost I put in my garden. And it's all been made from what I have here. The cardboard, the grass clippings, the weeds. That's why I do get weed seed in my compost. But everything that basically will rot down goes into my compost. All right, and this is what I use it for. So if you compare, or if you look at all the spots I just showed you, and in this area right here, that is 1 load of my compost. Compost here is layered down about 2 inches thick. Another inch or so of wood chips. That is about how much 1 bin of my compost will cover. All right, just to give you an idea, you know, you can look at, and I'll show you, I'll leave a link for the concrete block compost bin build and how to go about building that. But that's how I make my compost, but mostly that's how I use it. You know, that was one of the questions people ask is, well, you know, once you make compost, what do you do with it? You use it for fertilizer. All right, as time goes on and it rots down more, all of that goes down into the soil. And if you think about it, that's how nature does it. Now, if you have very sandy soil, I would recommend, at least at the start, mixing it into your dirt, mixing it into your sand for a while until it starts to get a little better soil. But here, because grapevines go, I mean, roots go everywhere, I didn't want to dig it up, so everything just went across the top. And then once your soil gets to be a little more dark and a little more full of organic matter, then you just start putting it across the top, and then you go no-till from that point on. You don't have to till anything up. You just let it go, and then all that compost will slowly work its way down into the soil, and it'll actually raise your soil level to where that top layer is, you know, rotted down compost, wood chips, and whatever else. That's what I do with my compost. All right, hopefully you all got a compost bin and have started working on making your own compost. I don't use any fertilizer. I don't use any bug killer. I don't put fertilizer of any sort other than compost in my yard. That's the only thing I use in my gardens. And, you know, it's a very sustainable way of growing vegetables. All right, so anyway, thanks once again for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe, and let me know what you think. And most importantly, grow something. Grow some compost so you can grow your dirt, so you can grow your vegetables. All right, come back and see me.